In the bustling heart of Lagos, Nigeria, where the air smelled of roasted corn by the roadside and the music of hawkers calling out their goods filled the streets, there lived a woman named Amara who had long been underestimated, for while she carried herself humbly and wore plain wrappers like any other village woman, deep beneath her modest exterior lay an empire of wealth her late father had built, a business dynasty that stretched across oil, real estate, and international trade. A fortune that made her one of the wealthiest women in the country, yet she had chosen to live quietly and marry Chaik, a man from a modest family whom she believed loved her not for what she had but for who she was, though little did she know that the family she was marrying into would soon reveal cruelty so sharp it would test the depths of her endurance. For the moment she entered Chaik's family compound after their marriage, her mother-in-law, Madame Ifeoma, a sharp-tongued woman with eyes like a hawk always searching for weakness, looked her up and down and sneered, whispering to her daughters, Gozi and Adana, that this new bride looked too simple, too unsophisticated, to bring any real value into their family, and so they devised, even unconsciously at first, to treat her not as a daughter-in-law but as a servant, assigning her endless tasks sweeping the large compound before dawn, washing mountains of clothes in the scorching sun, cooking elaborate meals for family gatherings without offering her a seat at the table. And when Amara tried to remind them she was their son's wife, they laughed and said in-laws are like servants until they prove their worth, and though her heart burned with humiliation, she kept silent, recalling the words of her late father who had once told her, a river that flows quietly may still drown a man, meaning her patience would one day speak louder than anger. So she endured, while her husband Chaik, though kind at first, gradually grew weak under his mother's influence, often avoiding conflict by keeping silent whenever they berated Amara, which only deepened her loneliness. And yet each night when she sat by the window staring at the moon, she whispered prayers for strength, knowing that storms always passed eventually, though she had no idea that her storm would grow darker before it broke. For one day when Madame Ifeoma held a family meeting, she openly declared before Amara that unless she bore a child soon, she would be of no value, and even worse, she suggested Chaik should consider another wife, words that sliced Amara's soul, but also ignited a spark deep inside her, for she knew her worth was not tied to childbearing, nor to the cruel approval of a mother-in-law who had never asked about her dreams or dignity. And so, as they sent her to scrub floors the next morning, while the sisters-in-law painted their nails and gossiped, Amara scrubbed not in bitterness but in silence, all the while knowing that outside those gates, the companies bearing her father's name were still operating under trustees who awaited only her command to unleash her true identity. Yet she wanted to see how far their disdain would go, to test their hearts, for wealth could build houses, but not character, and perhaps their treatment of her would reveal their own souls more than hers. Weeks turned into months, and the abuse grew crueler. Adana once threw soapy water onto Amara's just-washed dress, laughing that she looked like a real maid now, and Gozi would snatch food from her hands, claiming she had no right to eat before elders, while Madame Ifeoma tightened her grip, assigning Amara to sell vegetables in the market on behalf of the family as though she were a house girl. And still Amara went, her heart steady, her pride cloaked in humility. But inside she was planning, waiting, for the day of revelation. And that day came unexpectedly, when news spread across Lagos that the CEO of the mighty Anyakachi Holdings, an elusive woman who rarely appeared in public, would be hosting a grand gala to celebrate the expansion of the company into Europe. And while the city buzzed with curiosity about who this mysterious heiress might be, Amara's in-laws sat in their sitting room criticizing the rich, sneering that wealth made people arrogant, little knowing that the woman they scorned daily was the very billionaire whose signature commanded boardrooms. And Amara, after months of silence, finally decided her time had come. So on the night of the gala, when Madame Ifeoma ordered her to stay behind and clean, Amara excused herself quietly, went into her room, and opened a chest that had lain untouched since her wedding, inside which lay the regal gown her father had left her, a flowing emerald dress embroidered with gold, symbol of her lineage. And she adorned herself not as the maid they thought she was but as the queen she truly was, slipping into the waiting car that her trustees had sent. And when she stepped into the glittering hall of the gala, cameras flashed, dignitaries bowed, and the trustees announced her name, Amara Onyekachi, rightful heir and CEO, a name that sent ripples through the nation, and even as she smiled gracefully and delivered her speech about integrity, perseverance, and the danger of judging people by appearances, her in-laws sat at home watching the televised event, their jaws dropping, their cups of palm wine slipping from their hands as they recognized the woman on screen as the same one they had mocked, overworked, and dismissed as a maid, and panic seized them, for they realized their cruelty had been exposed before fate itself, and when Amara returned home after the gala, no longer in rags but still with the same gentle eyes, they fell at her feet begging forgiveness, while Chaik wept bitterly, ashamed of his silence. But Amara, though pained, did not let hatred consume her. Instead she told them, "Wealth does not change who I am, but it has revealed who you are," and with that, she gave them a choice: change their hearts and treat others with respect, or be cut off from her life entirely. And though some repented, others struggled with pride, yet Amara had reclaimed her dignity, teaching them and the whole village that the true riches of life lay not in money but in kindness, though her billions ensured she would never again be underestimated. And thus, the tale of the hidden billionaire bride became a story told across generations. A reminder that the stone the builders rejected could indeed become the cornerstone, and that humility was never weakness but power under control. And so Amara lived on, not just as a billionaire, but as a symbol of strength for every woman who had ever been told she was less than she was, proving that dignity, once reclaimed, shines brighter than gold.